Man of the year, man of the year, man of the year. Welcome to the number one friendship podcast in the country. I'm Aaron Cairo.
I'm Matt Ritter.
And remember to go to manoftheyearpodcast.com to grab merch. We have some new onesies for the parents in the audience.
Was getting hounded about the onesies.
Oh, God. Matt wanted to go into the store and build it himself. I said, stand down.
Oh, that was great. I go, Cairo, I'm going to fiddle. I'm going to fiddle with
We don't let Matt fiddle with any of the technical back end of the podcast. Matt, I want to talk about loneliness today. Not only is loneliness, one of the problems we're trying to solve, but it is a national epidemic. Surgeon General has declared it. People are lonelier than ever. And you sent me an article from Jay Shetty with some great tips to combat loneliness that I want to talk about. But first, I'm not as familiar with Jay Shetty. All I know is he's a monk, or he was a monk. First of all, what is a monk?
I mean, a monk is a Buddhist holy man, right? It's Buddhist.
I think so.
Monk.
Yeah.
And they are minimalist. This is just me BSing right now. They are minimalist.
Well, this is what we call this. We call this Matt GPT.
Yeah, Matt GPT. They are minimalist. They tend to prefer the color orange because it signifies spring.
Oh, I didn't know that.
May or may not be true. This is all Matt GPT BS. And they tend to gather in large groups of only men. And shaving your head is part of getting closer to purification.
Now he's going. If you see his face, for those watching us on YouTube, Matt's got that grin I've seen since second grade, where he is just talking bullshit.
I'm putting it back on you. Who is the Dalai Lama?
The Dalai Lama is the Tibetan spiritual leader.
Is he a monk?
He's a lama. Aren't there like generations of Dalai? He's the reincarnation of God. Are we gonna get in trouble for this?
This is great. So Lama is a spiritual leader originally used to translate guru, Sanskrit, venerable one, and thus applicable only to heads of monasteries or great teachers. The term is now extended out of courtesy to any respected monk or priest. So a Lama is like the greatest of monks.
Got it. Okay.
But now they're kind of throwing it around a little casually. I don't like when they're casually designating, it's like, no, there's one Lama.
I also don't love when like the Dalai Lama and I probably Jay Shetty, all of a sudden they're like celebrities. They're on Instagram. He's meeting with, Elon Musk. And it's like, come on.
There is a bit of, how shall we say, feels a little inauthentic, right? If authenticity is key,
right,
then why does Lama have somebody running his social media?
Well, I guess you could argue that this is how you reach people instead of standing in the square and talking.
Right, right. At the end of the day, everybody needs reach. Even the Lama needs reach. Even the Lama needs brand awareness.
I mean, I'd love to hire the Dalai Lama's like social media coordinator.
How much do you think the Lama gets paid to post branded content?
Oh, a branded like
a water company, like one of those newfangled water companies.
Oh, so I was going to go like Birkenstocks.
Okay. How much do you think Birkenstock pays the Lama?
You probably get $100,000 donation.
That's it?
I don't know. $500,000? I don't know how many followers does the Dalai Lama have.
We got to look up how many Lamas got. Hold on. Guess the over under on Lama followers.
Instagram? Okay. I feel like I can get within pretty close. I'm going to say the Dalai Lama has 14 million Instagram followers.
I'm kind of embarrassed for the Lama.
Oh no, what?
Lower.
4 million?
2.1.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the Lama's slipping.
2.1. All right. Well,
that's like B-list, Orange County housewife. Like not even football. That's like third tier housewives. That's like housewives of Salt Lake City all have 2 million.
So should we talk about some tips to avoid loneliness?
Yeah. So we're just going to say that Jay Shetty is a wise man, former monk, who I think it was somehow some controversy lately with Jay Shetty?
You know what? We're so controversy heavy these days.
Let's let him slide.
Well, it's not that I'm not going to let it slide. I didn't engage with it. And these tips have nothing to do with,
I think what happened was he said he lived in the woods for like 5 years and he really just went to a summer camp.
Right.
He went to like one of those outdoor 2-week, like building houses things. And he was like,
he
for
did
5
like
years.
us.
He's like us. What do you think of our story? Listen, when we get even more famous, I mean, come on, it's going to be, now I like to say I grew up poor. Like I'm going to say we both grew up homeless.
Well, the beauty of our story is, of course, it's based on the Man of the Year tradition, which is actually true.
Yeah.
If anything, we play it down. I mean, like we've got the is it bona fides? Bona fides.
I say bona fides.
You say bona fides?
Yeah.
Bon? That's like colonoscopy.
Yeah, I say bona fides.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Remember how we said we were going to get into topics quicker?
Let's get it.
All right. So a couple of his topic tips to avoid loneliness. One is to check in with yourself. I think oftentimes we're not even really connected with how we're feeling. We talked about this a little bit in the Cat Velos episode, which is introversion or extroversion. Like, how does your battery work? How does your battery work, Matt?
It's on 99.9% all the time. And then every morning I wake up fully charged and every night I'm at 000.
Wow. When do you start to peter off?
Well, at 2, I used to be able to nap when I didn't have a child. Now, I don't know, there's just too much going on, but I would say at 2:00 I peter. That's when I go to my iced coffee. I drink my hot coffees in the morning and iced in the afternoon. And then I'm really good for the rest of the day. And then it's, I end the workday, play with the kid. We cook dinner together, put him down, bath time, bedtime, 10 minutes of reading or watching some streaming, and I'm out by 9 p.m. I'm passed out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we went off into how tired we are, but I think this is more about checking in with how we're feeling, sort of our social battery. Like, are we feeling lonely? Are we craving social interaction?
I like what you're saying. So we don't even talk about this enough. We don't even really talk enough about the relationship you have with yourself. We're always just like, hey, who have you hung out with? Who did you talk to? You talk to your close friends. Did you make any new friends? Like, I think the baseline before that, and maybe it bears us repeating more often, is you got to be okay with what's going on internally first.
Yes. But that also could be fraught, Matt, because we have talked very often that a lot of guys are like, well, I don't really talk to my friends, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how we encourage people to actually dig a little deeper and challenge that notion.
Right.
If you haven't talked to your buddies in like 3 months, like, are you really that fine?
I don't think so. I think we've learned that's definitely not true.
So I think a little rule of thumb here is when you do see your buddies, okay, let's flip this tip on its head. After you've had a social interaction, a boys' night, a hang with your friends, that's when I want you to check your battery and how you're feeling.
How that went, how did that make you feel?
So you have now a benchmark when now 2 months have gone by and you haven't seen them and you're like, oh, am I okay with this?
Right. And that's, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when I said, the one tip we haven't really given out that much is just, it gives you something to look forward to. When you have it on the calendar, I realized like, oh shoot, I'm really like, I'm going to watch literally half of a Knicks game with our buddy Jeff.
That's great.
And that's like a week from now, but I'm already looking forward to it.
Listen, Matt, you are very good at the friendship snacks, a friendship nosh.
Yeah. Good nosh.
Another thing Jay talks about, I'm just going to call him Jay, is expanding your emotional vocabulary. So when you're checking in with yourself, try to be a little bit more specific. So if you're like, I'm feeling angry, well, anger could take a lot of forms. Like, is it frustration? Is it annoyance? Is it impatience? That way you can better gauge yourself and others if people ask you how you're doing.
So what do you think most of our listeners, I don't want to say most of our listeners, but what do you think a lot of our listeners are actually feeling if it's not just like loneliness?
Well, some of it, I'm off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Some of it could be boredom.
Okay. I like that.
Which I always think of the incredible line from Wayne's World. I thought I had the flu for an entire year. Turns out I was just bored.
That's great. That's great. My mom had chronic fatigue syndrome when she was like in her early 40s, and we always said she was faking it.
Uh-huh.
I still believe she was faking it.
Okay.
I think she was just bored. I think she was a bored housewife. And then she went back to law school and she had like so much more to do and she was like rejuvenated,
Yeah. I think bored, I think they could be bottled up when you don't have anyone to share with.
Bottled up. I really like that. How about similar to bored and bottled up, feeling, it's a little more specific than bored, but similar, just feeling stuck in a rut.
Yes. Stagnant.
The monotony, stagnant. They're all kind of different, but kind of in that same.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point, is that these are all going to be distinct, because if you're feeling stagnant and you're feeling bored, those are two slightly different things. So it's better to, you can't address the issue unless you can diagnose it.
That's good. This is good. I like this. This is really good.
Now another thing he talked about, which I actually had also been seeing on TikTok, is when you're having conversations, and this could be with anybody, spouse, friend, stranger, to ask a bit more open-ended, thoughtful questions. And the example that was given to me on TikTok, which I really struck me, was like, you meet someone, and Matt, you're a former lawyer, so the example was a lawyer. You meet someone and they say, "Oh, I'm a lawyer." You could say, "Where do you work? What kind of law?" But this guy was like, "Oh, what made you decide to become a lawyer?" In other words, not what you are or what you do, but how you feel about it.
Yeah, it gives you room to express yourself better. The person who's going to answer that question is going to get to actually answer a question they'd be interested in answering.
Right. I mean, it's a way to go deeper. We always talk about how we're a bit resume focused in our world.
Yeah.
And that doesn't tell you anything about a person.
And it doesn't excite people.
Right.
That's the other part. It doesn't get people lit up to go, wow, I get to answer this question.
Now, you and I got into a little bit of a back and forth in our episode about small talk, because you like to parachute in with like, "Oh, how do you feel about?"
You're acting like I'm hang gliding in.
Listen.
Hold on. We didn't get a poll yet. We should do it. Let's do we haven't gotten the results of the poll because we didn't do a poll about whether my small talk was more. I think it's more medium talk. You were like, no, that's big talk.
Yeah, big talk. You talk a big game. Game.
No, but if somebody look, I think it was more that like my second questions are deeper. It's like, instead of like, "Oh, you're a lawyer, blah, blah, where do you work?" It's like, "Dude, is there a cool case you're working on? I love to hear about it. I love hearing this stuff."
Yes.
I was with a guy yesterday and it was just like, he worked at a firm, and just randomly there's like a big non-compete thing going on. I don't know if you saw like Supreme Court's like ending non-competes. Like there's a lot of all that stuff. He's like, "We're going to be in front of the Supreme Court." And I almost got trapped in Thailand by my former company who's friends with like the government of Thailand. And they were going to literally it wasn't Thailand, Singapore. Somewhere they were going to literally armed trap these guys from leaving their company.
That's how strong the non-compete was.
Yeah, that was how strong the non-compete came with weapons.
So while I understand, okay, non-compete can be restrictive, like how can you do that to a person? But isn't there a reason? Then you'd be poached left and right.
Yes. I mean, the reason is supposed to be that you can't take that company's intellectual property or trade secrets and then walk across the street with it. The problem is it's very anti-competitive. Silicon Valley was built without non-competes.
But also, can't you, even if you didn't have a non-compete, you also can't take the intellectual property anyway. Isn't that illegal anyway?
Can you take their trade secrets if you don't have a non-compete? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I mean, if you're working at Google at their self-driving car and
you didn't sign anything, if you didn't sign anything that says I can't share these trade secrets.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
So when we're building our media company and we have, I don't know,
sign NDAs and we'll make them sign NDAs and non-competes if we can, but California, not going to happen.
Right. I guess there's nothing anyone from stopping from leaving the Man of the Year company and writing a book about how incredible we are.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, so moving on to I think it's good. Look, ask interesting questions. You're never going to go wrong with that.
This next one is something that I think you're pretty good at. I think we're both pretty good at it. He says, smile at strangers. Now that in and of itself is kind of funny because it seems like you're going to be, kidnapped. But saying hello when you pass people or nodding or smiling, what do you think about that? You love that.
I mean, I love it. Actually, so my mom was visiting and she said, not as many people in LA say good morning on their walk.
Versus what, New York, where she lives, where no one says it?
She said more people in New York she found in her. I was like, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
But I do like the good morning. I say good morning to everybody on my walk. And I find that not a lot of people are planning to say it to me on the walk.
Do you ever do a smile or a good morning and the person just blows past you and you're like, that was weird?
No, I know. You're like, have you never encountered another human? Have you never interfaced with another person? By the way, I hate when I do the wrong, for Brenner's birthday, people were saying happy birthday on the way out. And I said, happy birthday back. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
You're a dumbass.
Yeah. Like when you walk into the movie theater, enjoy the movie, you too. Like what?
Right. Like why? Yeah. What?
What I like to do is a closed mouth smile, no teeth. Oh no, that was sorry on YouTube.
Is that you smiling just now? That was it.
I do just a friendly face.
Right.
People, you want to. It costs you nothing in Matt.
By the way, I don't do good morning. I just go morning.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're living that suburbban life. Yeah. You're also not threatened. You have a child or a dog.
I'm screaming. I go, morning.
Yeah, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't run across the street and smile at somebody. He also, you also wanted to talk about, pattern, basically the connections between work and home life.
All of it. I think a lot of our listeners, and we're all guilty of it, we tend to think that, hey, some things are good and some things aren't as good. And as long as some of it's working fine, right? I hate my job, right? It's I hate my job and I don't talk to a single person there. But when I get home, everything's fine. That stuff affects you.
So you think that, yeah. But you think people who are having personal problems or work problems don't think it's affecting them and the vice versa? I feel like everyone knows that.
No, I think a lot of people try to compartmentalize or are in a bit of denial about it. I don't think most people realize it.
I keep hearing two contradictory things about Gen Z. One is that they're very stringent on separating work and at 5 o'clock they're done. Weekends they're done.
They're not answering a single email from you.
But they also expect your personal life to bleed into your work.
Those don't make sense together. Those don't seem to.
I mean, it's very convenient
too.
Say that again.
They want to have their cake and eat it too. Is what it sounds.
Right. They want to have their gluten-free carrot cake and eat it too.
Yes. They want to have a very untasty. Do you like gluten-free cakes? No.
I mean, I wouldn't choose to have a gluten-free cake.
But what we've been doing? We've been serving Brenner a lot of pasta that's made out of different stuff, like chickpea. Yeah. You can't tell the difference.
Well, don't you want to? Aren't you supposed to give him a lot of shit so he doesn't get allergic to it?
We're giving him everything, but my point is I don't think you would know the difference.
I mean, you've eaten at Crossroads, right?
Yes.
It's it's a very fancy vegan place in LA. You can't tell the difference.
No, that's what I'm saying. You really can't. I mean, you put enough sauces on everything.
Yeah, you put enough butter and salt. Actually,
Yeah.
butter's not, but
Yeah, butter
and-
is dairy.
anything else you want to share about loneliness before we hit our listener question?
Combating loneliness, you got to let people know.
That's true. That's true. It's not the kind of thing you want to keep to yourself, although I think people who are lonely think they don't have anyone to tell.
Yeah. And remember, my tip was just, the easiest way to say it without getting too deep is like, hey, can we grab a coffee? I'm in a bit of a funk.
I'm in a funk. Right. That's the no friend or family member, when they hear you say I'm in a funk, is going to, brush that off.
Exactly. And it doesn't obligate you to go into too deep of detail what's going on right off the bat.
Right. Yeah. I love that. All right. We'll be right back. All right. This is Asking for a Friend. If you have a friendship question or ethical dilemma, send it to us on Instagram, Man of the Year Podcast, and we will answer it on the show. Okay. This is a good one, Matt. Dear Matt and Cairo, love the pod, and I'm truly jealous of your guys' long friendship. Oh, thank you. Trying to get rid of them. I need some advice. I'm a single parent, and loneliness is a constant battle. My days are a whirlwind of making lunches, attending school events, and bedtime stories. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I love my kid to pieces, but being the sole caregiver can be isolating. I crave adult interaction and conversations that go beyond how was your day and did you eat all your vegetables or eat all your vegetables? Since I don't have much free time, I've tried joining a few online parent forums, but the anonymity feels impersonal. Is there a way to find genuine connections with other parents without sacrificing precious time with my kid?
So, first of all, I feel for, single parenting comes with its own set of issues. And it's just like, I realize now, like having somebody else doing all the work when you're not there, like it literally requires all of you.
Yeah.
So I do understand how heavy that burden. It's not a burden, it's a blessing, but it's time commitment. So the number one hack, if we're just going to go, hey, here's a hack, invite somebody over with their kid, parallel play
For the adult and the kid.
Yes, double parallels.
In other words, if you're having the other parent over, you guys can both be doing work or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I just think it's a hack that I've found just from experience. It makes your life a lot easier because kids can entertain themselves in one space kind of together.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of good. And then what's good about it is if you haven't like fully made friends, and it sounds like this person's still in that early friend making mode, it takes a little of the pressure off of it too. Because it's like, okay, you're watching the kid, you're also chatting, but like things are kind of breaking it up. So it's a little bit of that casual or early, friend date stuff where like, it's okay if you don't get too deep right away, but as long as you come away with like, make sure to ask them one probing question before you go, right? Like one thing about their family that tells them like, oh, I'm interested in this person.
By the way, we can use the tips we just talked about instead of asking, "Oh, what do you do? How do you feel about it?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on X?"
Yeah.
It is interesting because it is a woman, so it's a mom. She does say that she's going to a lot of school events. Also, we don't know how old this kid is, but that would seem like an opportunity.
Well, it's tricky. It's hard because the school events, you're not like one-on-one with anybody, right? You're in like all these different groups, and I think there's a little bit of, it's hard to get somebody's number / do that in front of the other parents. There is a little bit of a tricky dynamic there, So I think the key is like, when we talk about moving the friendship up, like in terms of quality beyond the just casual acquaintance thing, you have to take it out of the place, right? So if it's in the parent, whatever, like PTA meetings, mommy meetings, whatever, you got to figure out a way to catch a person that you like on the side, right? Like as they're going in their car or whatever. And you got to figure out a way to take it out of that.
I was thinking maybe, volunteering to help out. In other words, like carpooling,
Yep.
bringing the supplies, that kind of puts you, oh, let me get your number and we'll
Yep.
coordinate type thing.
Yep. I mean, that's the be the friend tip. Uh, Look, the kid is a benefit to the awkwardness of making, because you can literally use the kid for anything. You can go, hey, I'm thinking about starting uh, an art class at my house for a couple kids. I wanted to see if you want to get in. Then you can craft a group of 3 potential friends that you may like, right? Let's just say you're starting from scratch. You've targeted 3 other parents that you think could potentially be friends. You invite them to this art class, and maybe it turns out one of them becomes your friend. You've won.
I mean, use your kid like a pet dog.
Completely. It's like a dog park. Exactly. Like kids. I mean, the park is a good place
Yeah,
too.
I was just gonna say.
So if you're with your, child, go local, go local, go local. Right? I mean, I think that's going to be easier for you if you make friends that are nearby, that are in the neighborhood, that it's going to be easy to commit to, a half hour hang, a kid hang, a walk. Hey, do you want to take a walk with the kids? You want to something low key?
In this also, because she is craving some adult interaction. I mean, this is where technology can come in. There's no,
Yeah.
if that's what you really need and you're so pressed for time, a phone call or FaceTime to an adult friend goes a long way.
Yep. And don't feel that because you're a single parent that, like, oh, I'm excluded from, I'm like lesser or whatever than these other parents, like, don't have a chip on your shoulder about it.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't know, is there anything? I don't know how the dynamics work. I was gonna say, oh, there's no reason why she also can't be friends with the dads, but I don't know. I wonder if it's fraught. It's the word of the day is fraught.
Gets a little dicey.
Yeah, God, we have such weird gender
Norms.
norms in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, look, don't, look, I think if you make friends with a dad, then you immediately have to, like, bring the wife into the circle.
Which, you probably want to do anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the smart play.
Did your parents always go to parent teacher conferences?
My mom went.
Your dad didn't go?
I mean, he was literally working 18 hours a day for decades.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Is parent teacher conferences that's at night, you go to the school and they tell you about the kid? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, but I think now they, like, bring the kid and they do it in front of the kid.
What? Like, no, they don't.
I made that up.
Matt GPT strikes again. Yeah. I was what a weird, I don't know, what a strange, because, like, I was always a very good kid.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they say when the kids suck.
I think they delicately use coded language.
Like yeah.
They're like, he's he tends to march to his own beat if he's not listening, right? They'll say he'll march to his own beat, or they'll say,
right.
He and the other boys, they're just different. Or something like.
Right.
Oh, he's got no friends. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a bit more of an individualist.
Right. Yeah. He tends to not respond well to authority.
Right. He's not what we would call a good test taker.
He needs a sort of culturally appropriate plan of action. Whatever that means. That's a buzzword.
They still do spelling bees? Is that too competitive?
No, I think spelling bees are still good. Wait, did we answer this question?
Sorry, I just was thinking of school. I think so. I think that, a lot of our typical tips still apply here. Using your kid as a prop. No, I'm just kidding. You have to be the friend. No one's going to come and make friends with you.
Yep. I think you also need to reassess you need to do a social fitness assessment and audit. We should start there.
Yeah.
Because you need to know where you're using your time as it is now. Right? Like, what does your day look like? What does your week look like? Where can we insert these opportunities to start building a social group or even a friend? Where can we go and make a friend and start there? Right? Like, hey, can I just have one person that I, that I get a coffee with once a week?
You're gonna love this. So my parents play pickleball at the Y,
Mm-hmm.
and they said to me and my
Why
sister
is
that
as a pickleball court?
the pickleball court is on the basketball court.
Wow.
It's two. They divide into two.
Wow.
Yeah. Why is that so?
No, I just picture the Y and I'm like, I can't believe there's pickleball in the basketball now.
So they've
By the way,
identified.
the track above the basketball court's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, there's the elevated track. Yeah.
But you have to run 400 laps there to do a mile.
Oh, because it's so small.
Yeah, it's absurd. I always feel like you're getting dizzy. It's so small.
Also, like the pickleballs and like balls fly at you because you're above a court.
No, it's ridiculous.
But they identified a couple that they want to become friends with.
Great. From pickleball.
From pickleball. And this couple always goes to Town Bagel after, which is a bagel place in town. So they're like, oh, we're gonna try to like invite ourselves to like go get bagels after.
I love it.
I'm like, that's great. So I gotta follow up with him on that.
They haven't done it yet.
I asked him, like, well, no, dad wasn't there. I'm like, guys, you gotta, once there's a spark, you gotta go for it.
Yeah, you gotta go because as we know, you have a like sort of a short time period to elevate that friendship if you're gonna try to do it.
Right, exactly. Like if it was a romantic relationship, you wouldn't waste any time. So you got to treat it like that.
Yep.
And I was going to just add to your social audit. Social audit is generally when you look at your relationships. So like maybe you actually do have friends. Maybe you've got play day partners that that you can prioritize a little bit. Maybe you've got a coworker who's also got a kid. So I think just sitting down for literally 5 minutes and making a list of your social connections could be helpful.
Yep.
Love it. All right. Thank you so much for the question. Also, let us know how it went. If you have a question for asking for a friend, send it to us on Instagram at Man of the Year Podcast. Matt, before we get to what do we learn today, I just wanted to do a quick shout. I got a call yesterday from our friend Eric Charles. Eric's a great dude. He also works in our industry. Like he's an executive. He probably has never called me in his entire life. So I figured it was a work thing. He calls me and we're chit-chatting, the little catch up. And then I expect him to get into, anyway, I have this project.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I was just calling to say hello. I've been listening to the podcast. And,
I love it.
It kind of inspired me. I was like going to burst into tears, Matt.
I love it.
I mean, I wish he was calling me about a work thing, but I was like, oh, that's great. And he was driving, so he was unstacking my habit, which I didn't even bring up because I was like,
nobody knows they're unstacking your habits. They don't ever know what you're doing. Nobody calls their friend and go, I hope I'm not like interrupting whatever it is they're doing.
Some people do. Some people do.
No.
Oh, he doesn't know what you're doing. He doesn't know what you're doing. Oh man. Anyway, so thanks, Eric.
I'm going to give a shout out to my new dad friend Dan Lerman and his wife Kim and their daughter Hazel. He's one of those guys. He's like me, like just gregarious, friendly, and we ended up going on like a morning coffee, dad walk, and now I'm going over his house for Passover and just like officially that was a big invite. He invited us and that was a big invite.
That's great. Love it.
Stepping it up, for friendship. I like it. So I got to respect he leveled it up.
That's great. All right, Matt, what did we learn today?
Well, we learned loneliness is not something that you're necessarily going to solve. So what we're trying to say is how do we, on the day-to-day, week-to-week, just look at little ways to improve. And I think we identified a couple of key ones, right? I like it's as simple as the way you walk around the neighborhood or where you go, like do it with a smile and not a frown. we learned that you need to really kind of be able to access your emotional vocabulary a little bit better. It'll help if you can say whether you're angry or you're bored or you're just kind of stuck in a little bit of a rut.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that Dalai Lama needs a better social media manager.
Oh, pathetic.
Uh,
Pathetic.
and the one thing I'm going to take away, and please hold me to this. I don't know if we would ever be in the situation, but I do want to try asking people how they feel about something as opposed to what they are or what they
Mhm.
do. I'm going to try to, I'm actually going to an event tomorrow, and I'm going to try to do that. And
I
I'm,
like
I'm
it.
gonna
You know what you're gonna get? You're immediately gonna get somebody who says, "I hate it. I hate everything about it."
well, keep it positive. You gotta try to, guys, keep
Yeah,
it positive. Keep it
yeah,
positive.
keep it positive, baby.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to your friends. Hey, Matt, love you,
Love
buddy.
you, buddy.